Hi, everyone. We're going to get started. Thank you for joining us for New Ink's Open House. Okay, so here is the agenda for today. We're going to go through some staff introductions. We'll give you an overview of the New Ink program. We'll break for some Q&A time, and then we'll give you some additional future moments to hang out with us. Okay, so staff introductions. My name is Salome Esega. I'm the director of New Ink. Is our deputy director who couldn't join us tonight, but I'm going to ask the staff members who are in the room to wave their hands. You're going to hear from them throughout this presentation. Gatch is our production coordinator, holding it down back there. Preston Fox is our program manager. You're going to hear from her soon. And then Paul John is our head of community. Alyssa is our marketing and comms manager, and then Barbara is back there as our department coordinator. And then there's some additional people who are supporting us tonight, and I just want to give them some thanks. So Ramke is holding down the live stream for all the people who are joining us virtually. I know there are many, many of you. And then we also have Esme, who's holding it down at the door, the first friendly face that greeted you. And then just want to give a special thanks to Onassis Onyx, who is hosting us tonight. And so, Onassis team, where are you? Woo! Okay, yeah, they're taking a break, well-earned break. Okay, so New Ink is the New Museum's Cultural Incubator Program. We were founded in 2014. We are a year-long professional development and mentorship program that supports creative practitioners working across art, design, technology, science, architecture, all of the things. We're very much an expression of our museum's mission, which is to support new art and new ideas. You'll find in the program that we support a multi-hyphenate community of people, and we often say the more hyphens you have in your practice, the lonelier it can feel. I'm seeing some nods. People can relate to that. So this is a place that embraces that newness, the things that are not yet named. It's all welcomed here for experimentation. So if you take anything away from tonight, we're going to do a lot of talking. These are the bullet points you have to remember. New Ink provides community programs, mentorship, professional development, and all of this happens in a shared workspace. There is this asterisk here. This team in the last 4 years has done a lot of work to introduce our members to a public audience. We've introduced public programming. So this is not a guarantee, but we do find strategic moments in the year to make sure that you're meeting with people who can continue to support your work. I'll just also add, like, for much of New Ink's history, we were like this secret community of people toiling away in the corners of the museum, and a lot of that has been kind of dispelled. And we'll get into this when we talk about space, but the museum has expanded, and we have a pretty large footprint in there, so there will be no way to hide moving forward. Okay, so in our 12 years, we now have over 700 alumni. We support a community of about 100 to 120 people each year. We have over 130 mentors who join us to support the cohort members. And then these last three statistics are self-reported by members as they exit. So to date, New Ink has helped to create over 680 jobs. We've helped to create or retain over 320 businesses. And New Inkers are really good at raising money for their projects, initiative, businesses, and nonprofits. So to date, they've raised nearly $29 million. So the demographic statistics here are just so you get a sense of, like, you know, the makeup of the program. We are an international program at this point, but very much based in New York City. And so we try to make sure that the cohort is reflective of the context in which we're doing our work. Okay, so alumni, who's come through? Many people. So the Black School is a radical design school for that kind of centers on Black visual culture. It started by two artists, Shani and Joseph. And when they were in the program, they wanted to know how to build a brick and mortar schoolhouse in New Orleans. And so through New Ink, they developed a strategic plan. They also developed a fundraising campaign. They launched a Kickstarter, raised $300,000. Were then able to leverage that fundraising through foundation support, and have built this schoolhouse in New Orleans. I visited it at the end of last year. They will open to the public very, very soon, and we're excited for them. Kinfolk Foundation is an organization that is invested in kind of monument making and thinking about who we celebrate in public space, who we commemorate in public space. And so they have created this augmented reality app where they commission mid-career or established artists to make monuments of people we should instead be celebrating and place them in historic sites across the country. It started as a very local New York City project, but has expanded all over. And they've worked with artists like Tourmaline and Wangechi Mutu and Hank Willis Thomas and many others. And at New Ink, we really saw them balloon. They started as like a collective of artists called Movers and Shakers, formalized into a nonprofit, received support from Verizon, Netflix, and then a very significant grant more recently, $1.8 million from the Mellon Foundation. Stephanie Dinkins is an artist I love. I'm an alumni of New Ink, and Stephanie and I were there at the same time. She's an artist who's been long time been doing kind of creative research on AI and its social implications. And during her time at New Ink, she was conducting these interviews with Bina 48, which is a humanoid robot that presents as a Black woman, and asking Bina how she understands her racial and gender identity, knowing that the team that developed Bina did not look like Bina, right? And so then what you get are these like really interesting video series, that then has gone on to shown in biennials and exhibitions all over the world. And Stephanie was most recently named in Time's 100 most influential people in AI. We actually have 2 alumni on that list, so we're lucky, and we supported them 10 years ago. Mischief, are people familiar with this? This is a conceptual art collective and brand known for kind of critiquing the speed of conception and capitalism. They create really funny, speculative products. When they applied to New Ink, they applied with an app. This is like an application pro tip. You can be weird. They applied with a project where they wanted to grow celebrity. They wanted to grow meat from celebrity tissue samples in the lab. So it's like a critique of fandom, right? You could get so close to your favorite celebrities that you could eat them. So shout out to the jury, 10 years ago that accepted that application. But they've since grown, into pretty significant company, over 25 employees, multi-million-dollar, valued at $multi-million. So we love them, and they stay close to the program, and they are mentors sometimes. And then New Ink members show up in the news all the time. These are just things that have popped up this year. We have 2 recent alumni who are on the Cultured Young Artist list, and then Jordan Harper White, who's a longtime member of the program. His gallery was featured in Art News. Okay, so here are the tracks. So when you apply to New Ink, you apply to sit on one of our 5 tracks, and some of them come with special partnerships. So Art and Code is a mainstay track at New Ink. It supports artists who are experimenting with software and hardware as artistic mediums. And we run this track in partnership with Rhizome, which is the New Museum's digital art affiliate. Creative Science is also now, we've had it for maybe a little over 6 years, is a track that supports artists and researchers who are employing modes of scientific inquiry to advance storytelling. So again, a lot of where our arts and science work sits. Extended Realities is the track I think a lot of people know us for. It's a track that supports immersive practice, VR and AR development, performance, choreography. We see a lot of that on this track. Our partners for this are the EY Intelligent Realities Lab and then Onassis Onyx, where we are now. The XR track has access to this space. Social architecture is where all of our social practice, architecture, urban design work sits. It's anyone who's thinking about ways to make public space, social space more inclusive and horizontal. And then Launchpad is a newer track. It kind of was sparked after a few years of reading applications and seeing things like beverage brands, fashion brands, jewelry brands, products that were ready to go to market. So we developed a track around this idea, and we're really excited to launch it this year in particular because as we move back to the museum, we think there's ample opportunity to build partnerships between the Launchpad track and the new museum store to launch products. Okay, so membership benefits. So this is a membership program, so there is a fee to participate. It's $75 per member per month, and here are some of the benefits you get. You get dedicated staff attention, so you have 7 new best friends. You also get to sit on one of these tracks, and each one of these tracks has a mentor in residence who guides you throughout the year. You're assigned a dedicated mentor. You have access to a pool of office hour mentors, which Paul will get deeper into the mentorship offering soon. And then you also get priority access to the public programs, which Alyssa will talk about in a bit. And then if you're in the incubator program, this is who we tap for the majority of our demo programming, which is a festival in June. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then you can work from our workspace. You have access to special mentor weeks. We have something called Curator Week and Investor Week. And then you also get a new museum membership, which gives you reciprocal membership to many other museums. Okay, and then you're also featured on the New Museum website. You're included in a press release. You get access to a New Inc Slack channel, which has, at this point, over 1,000 people. And then you also get access to a membership portal, which is where we archive all of our professional development curriculum. And then there are some additional guides and resources in there. And then you get access to a weekly newsletter, which keeps you up to date with New Inc offerings, but also highlights other opportunities in the city and abroad. So with that, I'll pause and pass it to Paul. Oh, one more thing. How could I forget? Okay, so there are a few new awards. So these are fully funded opportunities at New Inc. So Arts Council Korea is fully supporting an artist of the Korean diaspora. So you don't have to be living in Korea, but you have to be of the Korean diaspora. The Finnish Consortium is a partnership between 3 Finnish institutions. It's a Finnish Cultural Institute in New York, the City of Helsinki, and the Consulate General of Finland. They are coming together to sponsor a seat for an artist based in Helsinki. And then the Jerome Foundation, hot off the press, this is new, is supporting a seat for a Minnesota-based artist. So if you have any questions, we can talk about these in the Q&A.
Thanks so much, Salome. And just to put into context, actually, we have a year 1 member of New Inc in-house, Matthew, who is the managing director of Onyx, where we're at. And if we could rewind 12 years, the dues for the New Inc program were actually $500 a month. So big ups to Salome and the museum for valuing what it is to be a creative today and thinking about what access means. So I want to talk a little bit about who the people are here, but I also want to pause and think about, what does it take to be a New Inc applicant? And I like to say that New Inc is a place for people to launch ambitious projects. Maybe they are things that don't have a name or a place in the world yet, but they're imaginations. They're what is necessary for the future to come. There are a lot of offerings, and some of what Salome described, but maybe I have a little bit of bias being the head of community. I actually think the most beneficial part are the people in the program, the friends you make along the way. I'm going to show a couple pictures about friendship and talk about who we have here in the program. So here's an image from our end of year party. We always like to celebrate the people in our program. We also like to make cakes for these events. Alyssa, our marketing and communications manager, created this image of all of our members from last year, and we got to digest our friendship. This is a picture from earlier this year, late 2025. One of the community events we went, actually it was a Foundation Friday, we went to Sky High Farms, and we visited the biennial up there. And this is like a picnic from that scene. I can take a moment to talk about our community philosophy. New Inc is really a place for dreamers radicals, outliers, misfits who represent the necessary genius needed today, the people who don't necessarily fit into the box. Our mission is to incubate and center QT BIPOC voices and advance cultural change through their work. Our community offerings are typically held through work shares, or which are events where 3 to 4 members present their work and get feedback, but they also exist in these aforementioned community outings that can take the form of karaoke, field trips, exhibitions, immersive experiences, or a simple park hang. I'm gonna talk more later about mentorship, but that's just a little taste about who we have here. And I'll pass it to Preston to talk about our professional development program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Preston Fox, and I am the program manager here at New Inc. I'm also the newest member. I'm pausing for applause. I just got a new job. Thank you, thank you. So this is my second month here. If this is your first time applying for the program, I can let you know, as the newest member of this organization, you'll be in really, really good hands. New Inc. has allowed me to do what I love to do, which is facilitating programs, curriculum design, and that I hope that through applying to New Inc. and through our professional development programs, you'll get to do more of what you love to do. So yeah, at New Inc., professional development, it starts with y'all. It starts with our members. We look at their projects, we look at the initial member survey that we send out, and then we build programming based on like the wants and needs of the specific cohort. That's like the foundation that we start with. It's the cohort's values, it's their lived experience, it is the ways that they are actively crafting our world as artists and creatives. And then we infuse that with the essential business education that helps them, give them the tools to make their projects financially stable, legally sound, and ultimately sustainable, right? And then all of that while it's still rooted in something like really cool and really radical and experimental. Our curriculum, it builds upon itself. So you're with us for 3 seasons. The first season is all about visioning and values. This is a chance to get to know the cohort better, to get to know yourselves better, and like to enter the world on a really strong foot. Then we go into season 2, which is creative business modeling. And again, that goes back to those business fundamentals. Do you have a workable budget? Do you have a firm grasp on the economic landscape of the art field right now? And then where can innovation come into play to help us navigate how rapidly the landscape is changing? And then in our final season, we're scaling. And so this is making sure that you're able to find the funders that you need, create a working pitch deck, and feel really comfortable presenting your work. We have 3, let me back up, sorry. I mentioned every year that we do an intake form. And so there's 3 main buckets that we identified for this year's Y12 cohort, and this will change for Y13. But for this year, we had creative business fundamentals, again, really nailing down those hard business skills while still having a New Inc. core and heart. We have media and communication, where folks learn how to talk about and market their project. And then lastly, care and play. And then this is a space to, again, get a little bit more experimental, fun, skewing how traditional business programs function. We have 3 main program offerings, the first being Foundation Fridays. These are a monthly series of one-off sessions focused on fundamental core concepts. This is also where we took our field trip up to Skyharm Farms. So let's hear about a Foundation Friday that happened last year.
I'm Austin Roby, and I'm a cooperative entrepreneur. I'm a founder of Subvert, which is a cooperatively owned Bandcamp successor and interested in shared ownership and governance of artist infrastructure. This year at New Inc., I am a dedicated mentor and leading a workshop on codifying care within creative businesses. And in the past, I've been a member myself as part of Year 6. Care is the invisible labor that sustains our relationships and our life, and we often find that to be absent in traditional business logics. So Something that we've been exploring here is how to take care-based practices and integrate them within our business structures themselves.
We have our intensives, which are day-long offerings. So we'll invite 3 to 6 practitioners, business leaders, active artists to come and talk with our cohort. And this is like active workshops that we plan. So we'll hear from AX Mina, who led one of our workshop sessions last year.
My name is AX Mina. I'm a leadership coach and creative consultant. So this year we did a fall intensive session on time and energy management. It's really essential in creative practice. And typically, most coaches will focus on just time management. How do you manage your time? How do you manage your projects? But I think especially for creative entrepreneurs, for multi-hyphenates, it's just as important to think about your energy. There's social energy. There's some meetings that you might be having. There's creative energy. There's strategy energy. And our favorite is administrative and logistical energy. Maybe making plans, doing your bookkeeping. They are all different ways that occupy our mind and our spirit. And it's really important to really think about the energy that we're expending throughout the week and also the way that we're replenishing our energy. That's really supportive of the creative practice without draining ourselves too much in the projects that we're trying to bring to life. It's an essential ingredient to how we ensure that we're not just preventing burnout, but ensuring we're really building and developing our creative practice with joy and with our full human person.
And then lastly, we have our working groups. So these are multi-week, usually up to 6 weeks, seminar session explorations of core topics. You'll be in like a small, intimate class setting, 20-ish members at most, and we have 3 to 4 working groups offered each season, again, following in those main themes that we identified for Y12, but may look different for Y13. Some examples of working group paths, essentially. We did a donorship deep dive, which was really understanding the donors of the art landscape, from independent donors to corporate donors to governmental donorship, how to launch something, which is literally like a one-on-one on how to get your project to launch. And then DIY AI, which is one of the fun courses. I went to one this morning, which was like, really blew my mind of all the offerings of AI, as not an AI person. But if you're an AI person, this could be the one for you. And then, of course, there's always responsive programming, like programs that we really cannot predict until the time is upon us, and to be responsive to call to have like the crucial conversations of what is shaping our world and how we as artists respond to that. And now I'm gonna throw it back to Paul to talk about mentorship.
Thanks so much, Preston. I also want to just reiterate that a lot of our programming is opt-in, so it's not mandatory to attend, and a lot of these offerings are set in Eastern time from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Following in our core offerings, mentorship is also a huge part of the New Ink experience. We have over 130 mentors in our program, so that's more than 1 per member. These mentors are split into 3 main categories that I'll describe right now. So here's like a little shot of some of them. They serve as like coaches, advisors. Sometimes they end up as collaborators as well. Each track is designated a track mentor. These are stewards for the year. Danielle McFadder is returning as a 5-time track mentor for the Extended Realities track. Danielle works at EY Metaverse. Sloan Leo Cowan, who works at the Movement Voter Project, also Queer Design Club, also Flock Studio, has been a community mentor in residence in the past, but this year is leading our cooperative studies track. Isabel Flower, who's an editor who writes a lot about architecture and thinking about space, but also works at Dean Journal. She's leading our social architecture track. Our cousin sister organization, Rhizome, leads our art and code track. And Dr. Elizabeth Hanoff came back for a 2nd year leading our creative science track. In addition to those track mentors, who are like stewards for each section, 12 to 13 projects roughly, we have mentors for our whole community. Jay Mimes joined us last year after being a restorative justice professional development leader with us and is helping us manage community expectations, provide counsel for the ever-changing world and the uncertainty that a lot of us face. One of Jay's specialties is communications and circle keeping, and we couldn't be more happy with how they've impacted our community starting this year. We also have artist Finnegan Shannon joining us, thinking about accessibility and disability justice. Finny helps stewards these conversations with our community and also meets with our members when they need it. So these are mentors that are available to our community members, our mentors, our professional development program. They're really available to our whole cohort. As Salome mentioned, each incubator member is paired one-to-one with a dedicated mentor. This is based on a mix of chemistry, experience, but also through a very fun and chaotic speed dating session that we do when we have our orientation week. Basically, there's a mutual ranking system. Members and mentors meet each other for roughly 8 to 10 minutes in a quick conversation, and then off those vibes, they see what's a great gut check, and they go and rank each other, and we use a matchmaking service based out of Canada to pair our members with our mentors. Some of our mentors here for year 12 are listed here. Dorothy Santos, who's formerly the executive director of the Processing Foundation and is currently a Just Tech Fellow. Neil Hamamoto, who is the founder of Worthless Studios, a fabrication studio based in Brooklyn, who collaborated with us in Demo 2023. And Rashana Bagley, who founded Where the Black Designer's At, and who currently works at Creative Lives in Progress. We also have a really wide array of office hour mentors. These are 60 to 70 experts, alumni, curators, investors, technologists, and more. We select these mentors based on the intake forms when we send out acceptances to our incubator members. We send out a very long intake form where we ask people to rank what are the things you want to focus on this year. So our whole program is really designed on who applies and who gets admitted. Our professional development program, the mentors that we select, and the exhibitions that we produce, or events that we produce. Listed here are 4 of our office hour mentors. Noam Seagal, who's a curator of digital art, the LG curator, I believe, at the Guggenheim. For the first time this year, we have Miriam Ashard, who founded Phi International, based in Montreal. Nonsikolelo Mutiti, who's the chair of graphic design at Yale School of Art. And Carly Aries, who worked at Figma, OpenAI, and is also a designer in their own right. So you can see a very wide array of experience and of interest. I'm gonna pass it to my colleague Barbara, our department coordinator, to talk more about the space and what we have to offer there.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay, we have something taped to the mic, so we're getting used to it. My name is Barbara. I'm the department coordinator at New Inc., and a lot of my work is surrounded by space. I hope everyone enjoyed the food and the drinks. There'll be more drinks after. So as you can see, New Inc. was in this old building that was circled to the right. We were kind of separated from the new museum, but coming up this year, which you may have seen in the news, is the reopening of the new museum. Come March 21st and 22nd is a weekend. You'll have fun. So in the future, which is coming very fast, we'll be in that blue block right there that says New Inc. very bigly on the 5th floor. Some things you can expect in the new space is obviously soft seating, shared desks, monitors, conference rooms, lockers, equipment for borrowing. You have security code, refreshments, lots of seltzers, and we'll also have a private terrace where you can go and get some air. Beautiful New York air. Additionally, what we'll have on that floor is a media lab, which has projection mapping, audio and video recording, lots of high-tech-ery going on. And we'll also have a fabrication lab, which is really like dirty working kind of things. So 3D printing, workbenches, there might be a little bit wood, exhaust, but all the things that really kind of feel studio arty, if that makes sense. I also just want to highlight where we are at is Onassis Onyx. This place is the home of our extended reality track, obviously a state-of-art motion capture system, really beautiful space in Soho, where we're at right now. They are our cousins. If you are accepted, and you might not be on the XR track, if you're interested, you can just reach out to us. So next we have is public programs. I'm gonna pass off to my colleague, Alyssa. Yay.
Thank you, Barbara. My name is Alyssa Noel. I am the Marketing and Communications Manager at New Inc., and I'm going to talk us through some of our public programming.
Hello, demo.
Do you mind turning down the volume? Okay, so Demo is our annual festival celebrating what is next and new in culture. So we programmed this event by inviting some of our New Inc. members, mentors, and industry leaders to participate in talks, in workshops, in performances, and a showcase. It's grown a lot from its original form. You may remember Demo Day. It was a one-day small group of members presenting to a room of investors and curators and professionals that could advance their work to the next stage. Now the festival opened its doors to the public. So we invite the public in to chat with some of New Inc. members and leading professionals in the various industries. We cross over and we advance some of the conversations that are being incubated within our program. So I encourage you to watch that full video with sound on YouTube. This year is the first year that Demo Festival will be at New Museum. June 3 through 5, come through and experience Demo for yourself. Okay, so one of our annual programs is Creative Science Dinner, and this has become an annual event celebrating the members and work of the Creative Science track. This past year, we hosted the dinner at Prospect Park Boathouse, and we invited Chef Faisal Lagos to create a menu inspired by his memories and the textures, colors, and flavors of Honduras. And at this dinner, we invited 3 Creative Science track members to install installations within and around the boathouse. The year prior, we invited Char Ong of Krong, Cambodia, and now Bong NYC to create a menu at Noosphere Arts in Greenpoint. And previously, this dinner has happened at Ace Brooklyn and Oco Farms. Okay, so another one of our annual events is our office holiday party, and this is like a baby benefit for New Inc. Every year we invite a comedian to incubate a fake business, and the theme of the holiday party is that fake business's office holiday party. So this past year, Jabuki Young White hosted with his business Star, which is a 24-hour surveillance service made for influencers. Why worry about filming content when you're already being recorded? The year prior, we invited Julio Torres and Ana Fabrega, who incubated New Grape City, and this was a firm that created the stories for the people staged in architectural renderings. It's really fun, it's a great way to end the year and celebrate our members. Okay, and then depending on opportunities and partners, we will host some more spontaneous events. So we've hosted a lot of events at Onassis Onyx, where we are right now. We helped launch the Somewhere Good app, and we hosted their launch spiral at Ace New York. We hosted an exhibition with Creative Science members at New Lab, and we co-hosted a Sing for Science live podcast taping with Questlove and a child psychologist at WSA, and this was to promote Questlove's children's book, The Idea in You. And then this past year at camp, we invited Yada in Conversation to talk through Kimberly Drew's new Digital Landscapes article, which came out 10 years ago. And Yada invited back some of the artists that were featured in that article to talk about what does the digital landscape look like now. And I am going to pass the mic back to Paul to talk about submitting your application.
All right, I'm back. So you just heard like a brief, really, really short presentation on, in my opinion, we could talk for days. We could talk for 3 days. We do it every year at Demo. Our project is really wide and vast, but what does it mean to apply? So let me give you a little bit of background about our application process. So last year, we received a significant increase in applications, roughly 38% from the year past. And because of that, only 26.7% of applicants advanced to the interview phase. So you begin with a submitted application that's reviewed by 3 different people, at least. And from there, the New Ink team decides, who do we want to talk to a little bit more? Who do we want to learn a little bit more about? And how do these projects coalesce together? How will they sit on a track together? How will they collaborate together? From the interview phase, which is roughly 120 to 125 applicants, roughly half of them are sent an offer to the program. So if you make it to the interview, you got a pretty good chance. I mentioned this already. Each application is reviewed at least 3 times. 1 New Ink member will review an application. The whole team does it, all 7 of us. And then we have 2 external reviewers based on the tracks that you select. So in the submittable application, you can select art and code, social architecture, any of the 5 tracks. You can also select open to multiple. So based on what you select, there will be a reviewer assigned to you based on that expertise. What do we look for in applicants? There are 4 main criteria we use to review all applications. And this is exactly what the external reviewers see. This is the scoring method. So you're seeing what they're judging your application by. Clear commitment to growth. Is this a project that is growth-minded or wants to adapt and change? Can this project scale? Strong practice working across disciplines of art, tech, design, and/or architecture and science. Is this project already working across these disciplines? Have they gone as far as they can with what they've done? Or can experts in their field or relevant collaborators help launch them a bit further? Have you shown stuff? Have you tried? It doesn't have to be 100 exhibitions. It can be 1. You tried this once. It doesn't have to be a museum. You could have done it DIY style. Advancement of culture driving social, economic, and ecological change. Is this project challenging the status quo? What are the new worlds this project is looking to build? Community-minded. Your project doesn't have to involve a community, but it has to work well next to others. You'll be seated on a track with 12 other people. Can you be friendly? Can you take feedback without being bitter or scorned? Can you offer feedback in a gentle and kind way? Can this project or its members work through conflict, manage the brutal aspects of capitalism, or find new avenues to work with different types of people? So that's a short description of what we tell our reviewers when they're reviewing the application. We also very clearly tell our reviewers to be open to unpolished applications. We're not looking for the finished product. We're looking for the next stage. We're looking to help you polish your project. So let me talk a little bit about the application process. Please read our open call page. There's about 30,000 words on there. So we do this on purpose. We want to be as transparent as possible. There is nothing we're hiding from you. There's no magic. There's no you're in because you know this person. We're looking for the next group of people that in 3 to 5 years will be established together, right? You guys are gonna start something here, and 5 years down the line, people are gonna be like, wow, they did that, and they started at New Inc. That's our hope, that's my hope at least. We require you to make a presentation deck. There is a link to a sample deck on our apply page and in our submittable. We also have a couple videos that I'll talk about in a moment that we made last year, thanks to Alyssa. We really want you to answer those questions. You don't have to answer them all, but please take the time to answer the questions. What we really want to try to avoid is recycling decks. A deck that you might use for funders, for an exhibition, while they might feel like, oh, I can just pop it into New Inc., our reviewers are looking for something different. We're looking for scaling, we're looking for growth, we're looking to know who you are and why you do what you do. Please pay close attention to the submittable application, as it does change based on the questions that you answer. So if you're joining as a team or applying as a team, questions change. We ask a lot of information about demographics and history from each person as well. And the last thing to note about the application process is, as I mentioned, you can select tracks that you're interested in, but ultimately the New Inc team, we curate the tracks based on the projects that are being developed. So if you're interested in creative science, but we see your work fitting better in extended realities or art and code, we might slide you over there as an offer there. And unfortunately, our offer is final. As I mentioned just a moment ago, we solicited some walkthrough videos from our members in year 11. So Srushti, Kama, and Hunte are gonna show you the decks that they submitted, talk about their projects, and you can watch these videos on YouTube. They're also linked on the open call page as well. So you can hear what they were thinking when they were applying, what they needed, and you can see their deck that they submitted as well. And just today, we had one of our reviewers talk about an application that they reviewed for Y12 member Gabrielle Horton, who runs a project called Natal. So it was just launched today, it's fresh, check it out. It was reviewed by Ginny Huo, who's an artist and a former New Museum colleague. So check it out, and you can see a little bit about what it's like to have a reviewer talk about an application. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the timeline of the application. So we got about 2 more weeks for the application. Take your time, please spend it wisely, and don't go at it alone. There's probably 80 people here and 100 people online, at least. So find a friend, work on your application together. I like to joke that together is always better, and that's a big part of what New Inc tries to champion. And you don't actually need New Inc to start new collaborations. They're here in the room with you. So please work on these applications together. You'll remember things that they won't remember, and they will remember things that you won't remember, and together you can really have a good dialogue and make your strongest application. By April 10th, we will send out interview requests. So by April 10th, you'll know whether or not you're advancing to the interview stage. For about 10 business days, we interview these 120 candidates. These are 25-minute interviews. And then we take about, 4 to 6 weeks, roughly 40 hours of deliberation to determine who's going to be invited into the cohort. Okay, we're almost at the end here. So we have a couple more open house events. Normally, we had an open house where we had some of our members present. We decided to split the programming up. So next Thursday, we have 3 Y12 members that are gonna present in our office at 180 Maiden Lane. It's our temporary office before we move into the museum. You can come and see what our members are cooking up right now. It will not be recorded and it won't be live streamed. So it is an in-person only event. You can register on the New Museum's event page. It's the same platform as the registration for this event. If you're based in Philadelphia, We have one of our cooperative studies members, the Fabric Workshop and Museum, hosting an event with us where Rina Anakwe will be performing a musical performance, and we'll have a brief talk back with Sloan Leo Cowan, the mentor in residence for the cooperative studies track, with Will Takao Elliott in our creative science track, Rina, and the Fabric Workshop about why they decided to join New Inc. and how it's been. Last and definitely not least, the museum will reopen in March 21st. So please come, become a member. You get invited to the Bowery Bash. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of activations in the New Inc. space as well. So come through and enjoy. That concludes us talking to you, but we would love to take about 20 to 30 minutes for some Q&A. There's a mic in the back that maybe Gatch can run around to people, so you can raise your hand. If you're online, your questions can be read aloud here, and we can answer them as well. Any questions? Gatch?
Hello. Okay.
A little scared of this device. Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. It was great. My name is Anna, and I'm considering applying to the program, but I am part of a collab. There are 2 people on the team. Can you talk a little bit more about how it works with multiple people in the same application?
For sure, that's an excellent question. So we accept teams up to 4. That seems to be like the limit. And the only thing that we ask is that you list all the demographic information in your application of all of the up to 4 members, and that you all attend the interview if you're sent an offer for that. But we do accept teams. There are many teams in the cohort right now. We have 64 track members with 74 members, individuals, so totally allowed.
This is a dovetail actually onto that one. If you are part of a collaborative and you apply as a collaborative, but only one of you, well, 2 of them are in Australia, so it doesn't really make sense from a time zone perspective, but only, say, I would be the member, how does that work in the application process?
That's an excellent question. And actually, if you watch the video that Hunte puts together, that's exactly what happened to them. So they started as a collective, but only 1 member applied. He realized that it was too much for him to take on individually, so they all came back as a team the next year. You're allowed to join as a project, as an individual, but unfortunately, your teammates can't join the other offerings, right? So they can't join like the community events, they can't really join the professional development events. And one of the nice things about working in a team is that you can divide and conquer. You can, one person can be focused on meeting mentors, one person can be focused on doing the professional development, one person can be focused on actual, fundraising, et cetera. So that is one of the perks, but yeah, with the time gap, it is difficult. I will say we do have members in Shanghai, in Korea, in Germany, all over the world. People do come here at very important moments, such as orientation or demo. And so it is possible to manage the time differences. I should also mention our professional development programs are recorded and they're stashed online. And a lot of the leaders offer one-to-one feedback sessions as well. So there are opportunities. Actually, one of our alumni and mentors, Alex Darby, is also from Sydney. So we've got some Australians in the house.
I think I'm getting a lot of questions around what is the difference between, or when people are applying, how do they decide if they should apply for one track or for Launchpad specifically? If their product is at, what stage should their product be in for Launchpad? Does the idea need to be fully worked on or just in a more advanced stage? And if they kind of sit in the intersection, which one should they go for?
That's a great question. This is the first year running it. I think we're open for anything. We want to learn what people need. So if you're just ideating a product for the first time, apply. If you have a product already, apply. We're happy to entertain both. And I think one of the things that New Inc. does really well is we try to understand where people are at that year. So we don't set expectations of, oh, you should have this done by now. We're really seeing like, okay, how many people applied for this track? What are they up to? Will they work well together? And I think that having a responsive program like that really helps generate camaraderie and helps people work together. Maybe Salome, you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I would just say for any project, no matter what track you're applying to, just it shouldn't be nebulous, right? Like it should have been at least stress tested once, because remember the criteria is that you have experience presenting work to an audience, right? And so it doesn't need to be polished. That's like our job to help you get to polish, right? But it needs to have some form. And then, you know, in terms of like which track should I apply to, remember there's a multiple to open tracks option. So you can choose Launchpad, and then if you're not sure what second choice makes sense, you can always tick the open to multiple option. Any other? Oh, okay, I'll run back here. We'll just go down the line.
Hi, I am interested in applying as an artist with a certain kind of practice, but I noticed there's a lot of language around like your project singular, and also like whether it can scale and is it entrepreneurial. So can you just speak a little bit about like, are you looking for projects that are necessarily translating into a business model, or could it be sort of an independent artist practice, and sort of that balance, please?
Totally. We have loads of independent practitioners. We think of artists as creative entrepreneurs. You have to file specific taxes as an artist, similar to like a freelancer. So we do identify independent practices as eligible, and they typically situate on the extended reality track, but we are open. We definitely don't close those gates.
I think my question is in line with that, is if there is any preference to product, project, or program. It sounds like all of them seem to be part of the mix, but.
Yeah, I think that's one of the special parts of this program, and maybe Salome can also talk about it, because Salome is also an alumni of the program. But I think some of the magic of the program is that we're open. We're reading these applications. We're just seeing what's happening now. And that's the program that we're building. So we have a lot of words that help contain that openness, but yeah, we're ready and willing to learn what everybody is up to and try to make a program around that.
Yeah, something I'll just add is that, really, it's like how I started, right? Like that this is a home for multidisciplinary practitioners. And I think one of the theories we have at New Inc. is when we get people to work outside of their silos, the opportunity for something catalytic really multiplies, right? And so when you're an independent artist, maybe sitting next to a graphic design studio, right, they can support you with your website, right? And if you're the architecture studio sitting next to a new nonprofit or business that's about to open, they can design your workspace for you, right? So these are the kinds of collaborations and friendships, right? Back to friendships that we're trying to foster at New Inc. And the thing I'll just say about your question, artists don't think of their studio practices as businesses, but they are businesses. You need a strategic plan. You need to have kind of a roadmap for how you're going to meet curators, or you're going to present your work, or you're going to all the contracting that goes into an artist, right, to make sure that you're protected as an individual. These are all things that we cover in the program.
Totally. And I think to Salome's point, I think the real magic, as I mentioned before, is like the collaborations that you don't imagine that would happen. It could even happen with your mentor. It could happen with a professional development leader. We really think about it as like we're putting a group of people together and we're seeing what cooks. And we're taking note of it and we're trying to catalog it, seeing what's successful, what we need to change, which is why we created this new track. We were like, okay, cooperative studies, we've done it 3 years now. I think what we're identifying is people want to go to products. They want to sell either a service or a product, whether it's consumer packaged goods, software, hardware. And so from those learnings, we ideated this new track.
Hi there. I am curious about how an applicant who is looking to pivot mediums would approach the application. Because personally, speaking from my own experience, I've done music video direction professionally and stage visual design, but I'm kind of more interested in getting into more physical fabrication and furniture design, but I don't have as much of a proof of concept for that. Although that's I'm kind of more excited about that. So if I were to apply, because I know you guys are looking for someone who's presented their work in front of people, but what if like the idea that you're trying to pitch is different from what you've done before?
Personally, I think that in the review process, you should champion the work that you've done and propose what you're going to do at New Ink. So we're looking for experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the thing that you want to do, but it's always a good idea to have some evidence that you've dabbled in that realm, right? As Salome mentioned before, it shouldn't just be like, I'm gonna build a sphere that goes into the sky, and all you've ever done is made watercolor paintings. So it shouldn't be so drastically different from your practice, but yeah, you really wanna champion what you've done to show us that you're committed and that you have experience, but also talk about your dreams. We're open for that.
And maybe just highlight in your application how the skill set you've already developed can be adaptive to the new direction you're going, right? I think that's important. What's kind of unique in our application is that we leave a lot of room in the deck for you to expand in your biography, right? Like you can tell us why you're making this transition in your career at this moment and why it would be key for us to support you in this kind of big moment. Okay, I know we have a question right here.
Firstly, congratulations on this. This looks great. It's very interesting. Congratulations on the success. I do not have a question related to the program, but I wanted to ask, how do you raise your fund? Like, when do you raise it? How do you raise it? And how much do you raise it? Because I've got investors who are looking to invest into projects like these and don't know how. We can talk later, but let me know who I can talk to about this.
You can talk to me. That's my job.
Okay.
90% of it. Is there another question over here? Okay, there's one right here.
Hi, hello. So our question is, so we're from Brazil and we have a new media art festival there, and basically on like our focus is like to grow in Latin America. And in the beginning of your talk, you said about like we had to have like some type of relationship with New York. So it would be like this like a no, or it would be like we need to do something in the US or something like that, you know?
You're totally welcome to apply. I think a lot of our offerings are based on what we know here in the States. So tax filing, business incorporation, it is really US, specifically the States centered. But Junte was based in Puerto Rico. We have a project in Bangalore, India at the moment. So, you know, while some of the professional development programs like filing taxes, that workshop might not be relevant to your project in Brazil, it's still welcome. And I think that we have tons of partnerships with other international institutions, and we invite people from international institutions to visit our cohort as well. So it's not a no, but I think there are some offerings that maybe are really US centric. I think there's one question behind you, and then can you pass the mic up there?
For sure. Yeah, hi. So, it's funny to hear my voice like this. Yeah, so you alluded to a little bit, you know, that you're applying like as a project. Like we're reviewing the project. We're not reviewing like you as an applicant as much as like it is reviewing your project proposal. I guess I'm curious, can you talk like how, it sounds like there's some room for like exploration or ambiguity, like we're not exactly sure about some of the details, but you know, it's gonna be something in this realm. I imagine it probably has to be more specific than we're gonna do something in VR, right? But can you, I guess, are you able to talk a little bit about like where that line is? Do you think like this is someone who, you know, it's worth applying and this is someone who maybe needs some more time in the oven?
That's a really good question, and I don't think I have an answer for you. What I would suggest is apply, because if you advance to the interview phase, we do offer feedback at that to those 120 to 125 people. You'll meet with me, and we'll talk about what the decisions were behind there. So I do think it's worthwhile having some skin in the game, right? Like showing some project relating to what you're interested in. But I should also mention a lot of things change in the program. You know, projects break up, pivot, change. And that's also welcome. That's part of life. And I think one of the nice things about New Inc. is that we really embrace that people have lives, people have families, people have jobs. We're not trying to really put everybody in a bucket. We're trying to expand what that bucket could be.
One thing I'll just add, we've both reviewed applications for so many years now, is that I think that applicants who start with a strong story, that are like story forward, whether it's like personal narrative about the trajectory of their career or like the actual conceptual underpinnings of their projects, those do better than people who are like, I know how to code in X language, right? Like if you're leading with the tech, that's great. This is a highly technical group of people who apply to New Inc. always, right? And we're kind of, I think the reviewers year after year are like less interested in that piece of it, right? And more interested in like, what are you trying to accomplish? Yeah. There was a question here.
I mean, honestly, it's like you just answered it, which is so crazy and coincidental. But if you could dive deeper into that, finding a balance between expressing your previous experience and telling the story of who you are, because so much of what you create is informed by who you are, because your process is derivative of you. If you could dive deeper into applications that have been successful at finding a balance between here's my LinkedIn post, and then like here's me as a person, and here's me as a community member who wants to show up and collaborate.
Totally. I'm gonna do the really lame thing and tell you to watch that video that Ginny made, our external reviewer of Gabrielle Horton's application, because I think Gabrielle's application, there's gonna be a link to her whole deck as well, and you can really see that personal story, and you'll see in the Instagram post, Gabrielle is like, it's crazy how much Natal has changed in the year that I applied. I think, I'm so sorry, I think we only have like a few more minutes left for question and answers, but we have an hour here in the space, and you can talk to any one of our New Inc. staffers, but I wanna check online if there are any other questions.
Quick question. I just wanna, you kind of touched on it before, but with the collaborations, is it that when you get placed on a track that you are presented at exhibitions and at showings with these people in collaboration, or is it everyone does their own thing, but on the way to that, you know, that everyone finds their friendships and collaborators?
That's a really good question. So for teams and collaborators, you take one seat on an incubator track, you get paired with one mentor, and you have one slot in the program. But each individual is responsible for their own dues. So if you're a team of 4, every person pays $75. But you do all have access to all of the offerings, but you get one dedicated mentor, you have one seat on the track, and you have one opportunity to apply for these public programs. But very good question. Any questions online, Preston? No? Okay, we'll take one more, and then we'll wrap this section, and then we'll go, 2 more. We'll take 2 more, and then we'll continue on in our mixer. You can just grab us and ask us questions.
Thanks. I'm sure it varies week to week and month to month, but could you give a rough estimate of like time commitments that you're looking for, and just to get a sense?
Totally, yeah, excellent question. Definitely like in the beginning of the program and towards the end, it ramps up. So we estimate that there's roughly 4 to 8 hours per week of New Inc. offerings. Again, these are opt-in. But if I can paint a picture for you, you have a monthly meeting with your track. That's anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours. You should have a monthly meeting with your dedicated mentor. That's anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. You'll have a professional development program, 3 tiers that are anywhere from 3 to 6 hours a month. So it really stacks up. And if you have a full-time job, if you have a family, if you're located in a different time zone, you really have to be prudent and efficient. We try our best to solidify the program year by July. So once all the applicants are in, we send out offers in June. We kind of go in this deep dive of what program we're gonna make for everybody, what mentors we're gonna make. But we start off strong with a 3-day orientation. Those are long days, about 8 hours each. We go into a following week with dedicated mentor matchmaking, and then in October we start a professional development program, launch our office hours program. December into January is kind of like, okay, everybody's going on holiday, and then January we're like, let's go. And we really start, applications for demo are open, second season of professional development, midpoint check-in, lots of emails, lots of messages. So we tell everybody to like set aside a separate inbox for New Ink and try to download that every week, like read through it. We'll take one more question and then we'll break for our mixer.
Okay.
Go.
Hello. Hi. So for a series of works that are best represented in video format, how best do you recommend this is embedded into the PowerPoint? Would you rather have a still image with a link or just the video itself?
Excellent question. We please spare our reviewers of a 1-hour video in your deck. We recommend 10 to 15 slides, a 20 to 40 second clip with a link to the full video. Okay, that's what we recommend. So try to be concise, but as expansive as you can. Should we take one
last question?
One last question.
Hi, I'm Eshi. I just actually had a question. Maybe other people also have. It seems like you guys have like a 4-path track. I guess I'm someone who has like a creative health science background studying sound, but I guess I'm interested in like implementing that in like social spaces specifically. So I was wondering, this is kind of like an intersection of different paths. So do you have people that cross paths, and maybe some clarity on that?
Totally. I think all we do is have people that cross paths. I don't think we have anyone in a straight lane in our program.
That's really nice to hear.
And I think it's our job to figure out where you go. It's our job to figure out, okay, this person is working on, health services and creative applications. Who else can they be around that will help that project? And so we're not looking for like people who are next to each other, but people who will complete each other. That's, I think, the more prudent way to put it.
So cool. I guess like when you apply, if you feel like you sit at an intersection, like just talk about all those intersections, and then maybe you guys can, what you said, like give a clear route.
Totally, yeah. Talk about what you've done, talk about where you're going.
Okay,
yeah.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Everyone online, big shout out to you as well. Big shout out to Romkey for our tech and live stream, Onyx. And please eat some food, drink some wine. You can grab any one of us New Inkers and ask us a couple more questions or attend any of our future programs. Cheers.